Hello, hello everyone. This is MD Officer. Welcome back to Dynamic Troubleshooter channel. Today I'm going to show you how can you configure SD-WAN in Fortigate Firewall. After ending this session, you will know how can you configure SD-WAN in Fortigate in details. I will also discuss what is the advantages and disadvantages of SD-WAN over MPLS. Okay, let's go. At first, we need to know what is MPLS, what is SD-WAN, what is the advantages of disadvantages of SD-WAN and MPLS. Okay, as we know, MPLS is widely used in IT sector till now. Why an MPLS is used? Why MPLS is used? If your office have lots of centralized resources such as central Active Directory, central mail server, central web server, etc. Then, if your office, if your organization wants that all of your remote offices must be connected, must be go through the central offices, then as given MPLS can help to achieve this. How MPLS works? MPLS work in between actually layer 2 and layer 3. MPLS forwarded the remote office traffics through central office. As a result, uh, through central office, through a high-speed fiber connectivity. As a result, all of the remote offices are able to use central offices with high-speed data connectivity, and they can also get internet through central office. But MPLS, the failover connectivity is not better than SD-WAN. When a link down, if you are using VoIP, I mean voice over internet protocol or VoIP calling, then your services will be interrupted due to the failure of a gateway. But in SD-WAN, if your offices uses cloud infrastructure, cloud services such as Office 365, Microsoft Azure for Active Directory and other application services, Amazon Web Services for Active Directory, file service, other web services, software and application services, then SD-WAN is the best choice for that. Why? SD-WAN, then SD-WAN is the why SD-WAN is the best. When in SD-WAN we know there are multiple gateway can be set up in SD-WAN in a single SD-WAN group. As a result, all of your gateway are acting as a real-time load balance as well as a failover actually also. So when a gateway is down in any cases, then other gateway will take the responsibilities. The other advantages is that when your office don't need to connect through central offices infrastructure, or when your office don't need to access internet through its central offices, then SD-WAN is the best choice. Why SD-WAN is best choice? SD-WAN select SD-WAN can be able to select to the best gateway, best path among all of its gateway by considering its latency, bandwidth, jitter, and other factors, etc. As a result, your cloud-based services will go through SD-WAN is more faster than MPLS. So that's why SD-WAN has the potential to replace the so SD-WAN will be the best choice if you are using cloud-based services, or SD-WAN will help you through browsing internet faster than MPLS also. But when we should use MPLS, when we should use SD-WAN, when our organization wants all of their remote office connectivity must go through the central offices, then the connectivity must be implemented through MPLS by the helping of an ISP, one or more ISP. But there are disadvantages in MPLS in costing, because to implement these types of huge connectivity, an organization need to uh, get a connectivity from a single ISP to implement this connection. Because of that, otherwise they don't provide MPLS with all of the remote offices, and also it needs lots of bandwidth to uh, provide these types of connectivity. Other costs, there are also lots of other causes for to implement the infrastructures, to implement the huge types of infrastructures, etc. But SD-WAN will be used for independent remote office connectivity to access independently the central, central, not central, cloud-based services, etc. Okay. You can also use SD-WAN in your central offices along with MPLS. This will provide a hybrid connectivity actually. This is more efficient. So your remote offices connected to the head office through MPLS with different fiber connectivity, high-speed fiber connectivity, and the internet goes through the SD-WAN will be more effective, because SD-WAN can help in real time to choose its best path. This is more effective. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how can you configure SD-WAN in Fortigate. Before configuring SD-WAN, you need to configure your WAN interfaces. Okay, there are three steps actually to configure SD-WAN. At first, you need to configure your WAN interface, or the interface, by which internet will go through. To do that, I'm selecting port 2 and 3. In port 2, I configure one ISP, for example. Okay. For testing purpose, I give this name to ISP1, and its role should be WAN, and the IP address with subnet mask. Then I enable some administrative accesses. I will discuss in my next video which access should be given, which access will be used in which purposes. Uh, Currently, I'm giving access with HTTPS to connect through graphical user interfaces through HTTPS from a browser. Then I select outgoing connection to prevent botnet activities, botnet sites to my through my WAN connectivity, and click OK. I also configured the interface ISP2 as a distinct purpose according to the same procedures. Okay, this is the step one. In step one, you have to select and configure your WAN interfaces. Then there's step two. In step two, you have to add the WAN interfaces or ISP interfaces to your SD-WAN. Initially, you don't need you won't have any ISP connectivity here because I have two existing ISP connectivity. That's why it shows that. So to do that, to add a new ISP, you have to uh, put there its default gateway. In interface setting, you were give IP address and subnet mask. Here you need to give the default gateway. Then you have to add the another ISP and you have to give the another ISP gateway here. Okay, gateway here, and here you will see the users SD-WAN users, but you cannot control your SD-WAN bandwidth users from there. You just can see the overall users through the graph. Okay, now click on OK and click on apply. After click on apply, it will be added in SD-WAN. Okay, so when you are adding an multiple gateway to SD-WAN, SD-WAN will put them into a same administrative distance. As a result, all of your interfaces will act, as like as a load balance. In the meantime, it will act as like as a failover also. So when one interfaces is down, others interfaces will take the responsibilities and share the bandwidth among all of them. So this is the beauty of SD-WAN. This is the advantages of SD-WAN. So if your interfaces, if your ISP will are down, you don't need to interfere anything in SD-WAN. This is the beauty of SD-WAN. So in SD-WAN, all of the interfaces added. Then the third steps. In third steps, you need to put a default gateway for SD-WAN. As you see, the default gateway is already there because I configured SD-WAN before. So how do you configure SD-WAN? Firstly, you need to add the default gateway. So how can you add that? Just click on create new, then the pop-up, then so when click on create new, the page will show up. Here you need to put a default route, a 00 route or quad 0 route here, and you need to select the SD-WAN interfaces. You won't have individual ISP connectivity here because you added all of your ISP connectivity in SD-WAN. That's why you need to add SD-WAN here. Okay, so the default route will be applicable all of the SD-WAN interfaces. Okay, and the administrative distance will also be applicable on all of the SD-WAN interfaces. So if you give administrative distance 10, then 10 will be applicable for all of the interfaces. So is 10 and 1 is not create any big difference in here. So then click on OK. But that's the final steps. Okay, in these steps you can configure load balance here with different factors. Okay, by default you will have a default rule for SD-WAN, this one. From this one you can configure a load balance as far as your requirement. So how can you configure load balance? Actually, you can configure load balance by volume. I mean, what is the internet volume of your ISP? So If you give here 0 and this one is 40 or this one is 1, if you give here this one is 1, all of the 100% traffic will try to go through these interfaces. So this is not a big difference which value you are given there. If it is bigger than the others, the bigger one will act as a primary, then all of the traffic will go through. So but you can select, uh, you can give the value for each of the interfaces according to your ratio. According to the ratio means which traffics, which amount of how much amount of traffics you wanted to pass through this types, through each of the interfaces. Then you can give the value according to the ratio. For example, I wanted to pass through the second big amount of traffic through this gateway, then I will put that 30. Then I also wanted to pass through 20% traffic. Then if you give here 15, then you can see according to the ratio all of the traffic will be distributed among all of the interfaces. So your load balance will be act as like as that. So your overall 30% traffic will go through MPLS, and 29% traffic will go to the secondary gateway, and 19% traffic will go through the third gateway, and 14% traffic will go through your fourth gateway. This is the load balance according to the volume. So uh, the another effective method of load balance is session. Session is also like that volume. So here you can also set up the value according to the ratio, which amount of traffic session you wanted to pass through MPLS, Optimax, others, etc. Here I'll show you with some differences. Here I wanted to pass through 30% traffic. Here I wanted to pass through 40% 40% traffic. Here I wanted to pass through 20%. Here I wanted to pass through 10%. So you should not select the gateway which has lower bandwidth for huge amount of session, huge amount of traffic. But SD-WAN will also take cover, will also manage that, because when it's try to pass through huge amount of traffic on a certain gateway and it is not able to pass the traffics, then SD-WAN will distribute the traffic among others interfaces. Okay, so to get a effective bandwidth, to utilize the overall bandwidth effectively, you need to set up your load balance in an effective way, very carefully. Okay, spillover, you can set up load balance by spillover also. In spillover you can set up your SD-WAN load balancing by spillover also. So in spillover you can control your overall bandwidth, how much bandwidth should hit on interfaces inbound, in inbound traffic, how much bandwidth will pass through an interface's egress, I mean outbound end. Okay, so you can control this by using certain amount of uh, traffic seed kbps. So this is also as like as volume and session, because when you put one, you can see 100% traffic will go through gateway 1. Okay, so here you can see you can give you can limit the ingress traffic by kbps. So in kbps you can put any amount of value which will be appropriated in according to its bandwidth, in according to its capacity. For example, here I wanted to set up 30 MB for ingress for of this. So that's why I need to set up 30720 here. If I wanted that the egress port outbound traffic will pass through these interfaces, for example 20 MB, so I have to put 20480. Okay, so this gateway will try to manage its inbound traffic, limits its inbound traffic according to the provided bandwidth in kbps. Okay, if I wanted to set up here Optimax for 15 MB, not 15, 35 MB, then I need to set up 35. Let's continue. If I wanted to pass through 35 MB bandwidth with Optimax inbound and inbound side, and 25 MB Optimax outbound side, I have to set up that as well. If I wanted to set up 20 MB for ISP1 inbound and outbound, if I wanted to set up 15 MB for ISP4 both inbound and outbound, then we can set it up. But the best practice is that I talk that very, but the best practice is that to set up the ingress and egress bandwidth according to the interfaces overall capacity, overall inbound outbound capacity. This will be the best practice, otherwise you won't have the effective bandwidth utilization from the certain interfaces. Okay, this will be a bad practices. So after to set up this, you need to uh, keep in mind that which amount of interfaces belongs to each of your gateway. Then according to this you can set it up. But if you wanted to give a but if your ISP give you a flexibility, give you a burstable bandwidth, okay, you can set it up. But if your ISP is not provide you any kind of burstable bandwidth, so you don't need to set up here. If your bandwidth connectivity actually is dedicated, so you don't need to set up an additional bandwidth or with these interfaces. Okay, this will be the best practice, I hope. So in this types of method you can control your load balances. So you can also control your load balances by your source IP, source and destination IP, but it is difficult. Source and destination IP, you won't have any control of that. Yeah, Fortigate will process by its own mechanism according to the source and destination IP. Okay. In my next video, I'm going to show how can you uh, how can you get a best path and best gateway according to the performance SLA. Okay. I will discuss it in details in my next video with SD-WAN and how can you manage SD-WAN according to the performance actually. Okay, that's it. I hope the video uh, you like the video, so that's why I hope you will subscribe my channel and like the video as well. Or if you have any comments, if you have any suggestion or objection, you can in my uh, put in the comment. I will answer that. So I will always welcome if you have any suggestion on my video, or if I'm doing any kind of mistakes, please uh, let me know that. Okay, I'll try to correct this in my next video. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all, and goodbye.